Tired of your garden yet? Yeah, no, me neither. Here's 5 things I'm planting for August. Oliver and I are ready to get planting. But before we do, this is your reminder that I am in zone 5B. So the things that I'm growing work for me in my last frost date in zone 5B. You're going to want to just check the Farmer's Almanac to find out when the frost dates are for your season. Number 1 is winter squash. I love winter squash. We're going to be planting my 3 favorites: acorn squash, sweet dumpling squash, and spaghetti squash. We love their quick and easy germination. They're big old seeds. They're going to be planted about 1 inch down in a 3-inch pot or whatever you have handy. They're going to germinate really quickly, probably in about 4 days, and they may even have 2 to 3 true leaves by about 10 days. So once they develop those 2 to 3 true leaves, we're going to transplant them out into the garden. We love that they're frost tolerant. It's in the name, winter squash. Yeah, they don't mind getting a little chilly. They really don't. They're frost tolerant because they develop a hard rind, and while they don't want a hard freeze, they don't want to experience temperatures 32 or below. Here in my area, we might experience a light frost by our frost date of October 15th or so, but it's not likely that we're going to experience a really hard freeze until much later in October, even mid-November. So quite frankly, once these babies start growing, you can harvest off the fruit once it's mature and ready, and then you can just let the plants keep on going as long as they want to keep on going until the weather says no more. That hard rind also makes them great for winter storage. You can store them a number of different ways, but I just honestly store them whole. It's so easy. Grab yourself a cooler or even a cardboard box, fill it with some pine wood shavings, and just nestle each squash in. You can layer them up as long as you put a nice thick layer in between, and that pine shaving really helps manage the moisture to keep them fresh for most of the winter. And what I love most of all is eating them. They are so freaking good. It's like nature's little bowl. You're going to get your mature squash. You're going to slice it in half and scoop out those seeds, roast it up till it gets all soft and amazing, and you have a bowl. And you're just going to fill it with your chili, your soup, your roasted vegetables, whatever turns you on, and it's going to be amazing. Of course, not everything is fun and games. There's a couple of downsides too. Number 1, folks hate squash bugs, really do. You really hate squash bugs, and I get it. They're an absolute menace, but they're a menace more to summer squash than they are to winter squash. Why? Because right about now, they stop laying eggs. Yeah, end of July, mid-August, squash bugs greatly reduce their egg production, and so while they might still be out, you might still see a couple of eggs here and there, you're not likely to see the same vine destruction that you would with summer squash. And then of course there's powdery mildew. It's gross. I don't like it. I had a super huge problem with powdery mildew back on the city property. Powdery mildew is going to cover the leaves, which is going to slow down photosynthesis. So it may not kill your plant necessarily, and it might take a long time for that to happen, but it's definitely not healthy, so you want to try to avoid it. You can treat it with milk sprays and neem oil and things like that, but sometimes if you really got a problem, the plant's life will extend just long enough to push a couple of mature fruits out there, and then it might die, but you still might get some fruit off the vine. I'm really curious to see how they're going to grow here, where we have just tons of open space and lots of airflow. I'll keep you posted. Number 2 on the list are peppers. Are you surprised? Don't be. It's July. Peppers like it hot to germinate, so you can just germinate them outside when the weather is hot, right? There's a million different varieties of peppers, so there is sure to be one for you. Now, I started my fresh peppers way long ago, right? You might have saw my planting video where I've got, I don't know, 24 different pepper plants transplanted. However, had too much going on, and I underestimated how much the bunnies might just happen to love my peppers this year. They didn't eat them last year, but this year they decided to come for me. So the mild varieties got kind of, they leave the spicier varieties alone though. So I'm going to be planting 3 varieties today: shishito peppers, Cali Wonder bell peppers, and banana peppers. Now, one bummer about planting fall peppers is sunlight. The days are starting to get shorter already. Can you believe it? So I'm going to be planting my peppers, much like I do most of my garden, in containers so that I can move around the plants if I need to make sure they're really still getting full sun. Peppers might not be quite as cool in the winter storage department. You're going to need to pickle them or freeze them or even dehydrate them. But who doesn't love a crunchy pickled banana pepper on a sandwich? Come on, so good. I like to dice up a bunch of peppers and freeze them individually in little bitty packets, so then I have them quick and ready to go when I make tacos, chili, omelets, whatever. Hey, come here real fast, real quick, before we get to number 3. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like. If you think I'm a hoot, go ahead and subscribe. And if you've done all that already, hit the little bell icon and then you'll know when I'm online. Because quite frankly, I live here alone. I could really, really use somebody else to talk to besides my dogs. Number 3, it's my favorite. It's orange. It is sweet, a little bit crunch, 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 and I like to share it with my dogs. Carrots. Yes, we are still planting carrots. You are definitely still planting carrots. Now, if you've already checked out my cornstarch video, which if you haven't, you should. What are you waiting for? It's super cute. You're going to use the cornstarch method, but then you're also really going to keep an eye on the soil moisture because the sun is hot. It is going to dry out super fast. So I just make sure that I'm taking out my handy dandy watering can once a day, giving them a little sprinkle. Carrots also do not mind a frost. In fact, some growers will keep their carrots in the ground throughout the winter. Having a light frost or some cool time while the carrots are in the soil will make them taste even sweeter. Just like winter squash, carrots are actually really super duper easy for winter storage. You can store them exactly the same way. You can store them in coolers, in a cardboard box, in a tote, whatever you got. You can use the pine shavings again to store carrots in. You can also use sand. I've seen a number of growers use sand. I have not tried that yet, but it all has the same idea. The organic matter helps keep a balance of moisture so that nothing rots, but that the carrots also don't dry out and get limp and weird. Between the dogs and I, we cannot get enough carrots here. We just love them. We use them in canning recipes. We eat them fresh. We roast them. We mash them. We do all the things. We love carrots. We cannot currently grow enough carrots to satisfy our year-long needs. I am hoping to change that for sure. I've got my eye on my back pasture, which I can't clear yet, but I've got my eye on it for next year. I'm hoping to have a really nice big plot so we can really grow carrots to last us the whole year through. Number 4, I'm growing cabbages. I love cabbage. I love all the cabbages. I love the red ones. I love the green ones. I love the Napas. I love all the cabbages, right? Now, when it comes to actually growing them, I grow like 2. In fact, I've grown the same 2 varieties of cabbage for I think like 4 years now. I should probably branch out. I know variety is the spice of life, right? But I'll tell you what, I'm one adult in my household. You'll see lots of growers with really big families, lots of people to feed all at one time. So growing big ol' ginormous heads of cabbage is a great idea for them. For me, not so much, right? So these 2 varieties are my absolute favorites. They're from Territorial Seed Company. This is Tiara Green and Ruby Ball Red. They are delicious, and the heads get about 6 inches, and that's it. It's perfect for me. I can slice it in half, and I can use one day and save the other half for later, or a whole small head is enough to make my mama's vegetable soup and can it up. I love my mom's vegetable soup, and canning it and having it over the winter. Oh, it's like a little taste of home when it's cold and dark outside, right? The other way I love to eat cabbage is egg roll in a bowl. Chop up a little cabbage, maybe some pork, maybe some shrimp, some shredded carrots. Ooh, saute it all up with some soy sauce. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I love cabbage. Cabbage is awesome for storage as well. I mean, just as a fresh vegetable, a cabbage can sit in your refrigerator, some varieties for weeks and weeks before they will start going bad. You might even just be able to get away with taking a few leaves off the outside. So cabbages can really store better than you think they might. You can make kimchi. You can make coleslaw. You can stew it up like you would any other green. Yeah, amazing. Cabbages are super versatile. Now, even though I love cabbage, of course it has downsides too, right? Everything does. Pests will come after your cabbage hardcore. Cabbage moths and slugs are coming for your cabbage. So you're going to have to be sort of proactive, and you're going to have to keep your eyeballs on your plants just about every day. I'm going to use bird netting to cover up my cabbage heads. For me, that has helped keep the cabbage moths away, but I still look. Every day I still look to see if there's any critters underneath the leaves, or if there's eggs underneath the leaves, I'll destroy them with my fingernails while I'm there. You can also, to help rid the slugs, you can do crushed eggshell on the surface of the soil. That can deter them. Some people do a little shallow bowl with some stale beer in it, and they'll crawl right in and, you know, those can work. Neem oil can work if you spray it on your cabbages. So if you're going to plant cabbage and you want to get it to full maturity, you're going to have to pay it some attention. You're going to have to hold its hand through the process. But I think it's completely and totally worth it. You've stuck around this long. Stick around with me for number 5. It's broccoli. Broccoli is number 5. Broccoli I am planting in July. Now don't come at me. Broccoli is also a brassica, just like the cabbages. But I have them in 2 separate categories for a reason. Number 1, I've always successfully grown cabbage. I have never once successfully grown a broccoli. Never once. Never once. I probably tried 4 or 5 times. Never once. Now, I know I am not the only one in the world who has a hard time with broccoli, and I just refuse to give up. So I'm just gonna keep trying. I'm gonna be growing the Waltham variety. It's an heirloom variety. I have read that it should be good for my zone. Okay, so what am I gonna do different, right? Maybe that's the question I should be asking myself. What am I gonna do different this time than I have done every other time that I failed? Okay, well, let's look at how I failed. First time I failed, had all my seedlings in their cute little seed plug trays, and I was living back in the city, and I put them out in the sun in my driveway, you know, because that was the sunniest spot for starting seeds. And I drove over them with my car. Yeah, had successful little bitty seeds germinated, and then I forgot. See, I just forgot. Your life gets busy, right? Drove over them with my car. The next time I tried, I actually started them indoors because I learned that they like it cooler when they're germinating, and I put them under a fluorescent grow light that I thought was going to be safe. As it turns out, the light was just way too hot and creating too hot of an atmosphere in that particular room, and they all died. That was it. What I'm going to do this year is I'm going for the fall planting, which means we should have a bit of an easier time with pests because a lot of them are now done with their reproductive cycles. But it's really hot out, right? Broccoli doesn't like to germinate when it's really hot. So we're going to take the tray inside and we're going to germinate them inside. I'm going to keep them in the mudroom, which, you know, stays a little bit cooler than the rest of my house. And we have a little bitty fluorescent light that we're going to use to help get these sprouts started. Now, the nice thing about starting them now is it's going to take a couple weeks for them to germinate. So by the time they actually have a set of true leaves, we're going to be talking early to mid-August. By that time, it might still be hot out, but the days are starting to get shorter. So over time, as you're hardening them off and as they're growing, I can bring them out more and more because the temperatures should be coming down, especially in late afternoons and mornings. When they're ready to transplant, I'm going to plant them in rich but loamy soil. So we want it really like fertile with organic matter, but it needs to be nice and loose. Broccoli is a heavy feeder. It likes its nutrients, so we're going to really focus on that. And just like the cabbages, we're going to use netting to help keep some of those pests away. We're going to use crushed eggshell on top of the soil for the slugs. And we're going to keep our eyeballs on them every day. Every day. Like, you and me, broccoli, we are doing this. You and me. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do differently. I am so excited to have a fall garden here this year. I did not get a fall garden last year. Things were just too kind of chaotic trying to get the property ready for winter. And so I'm just super pumped to be in a place where I'm like ready to keep growing. Yeah, what are you going to be growing in July? Comment below. Let us all talk about it. This is going to be fun. Thank you so much for the support. I love you. Happy growing. And I'm going to see you on the next one, okay? Bye.